Hello there, my name's Annette with Sunbeam Fabric Art. Welcome to my channel. My fat quarter stash is really out of control right now. I don't even know what I have. So my next few projects I'm going to be using up some fat quarters, and my charm packs are also out of control. So those two things I need to really work on. A few of those bundles in front were actually not fat quarters, so that was good. I folded those up. Those came out of an end of bolt mystery box, and I have actually made some progress on my stash, so I was able to get those put away in my stash. Then I started taking a look at my fat quarters. For the fat quarter block I'm making today, you can use any number of fat quarters. I am going to be using 9. I was pulling colors in neutrals, greens, and teals, and I was also looking for lights and darks to get some contrast. Here's a look at the 9 fat quarters I chose. You can see on the right there are 3 that are really light. I've got 2 or 3 that are also medium and 3 that are pretty dark. Feel free to pause the video and take a screenshot if you want to. Here I've got them all lined up, lightest on the right to darkest on the left. I like to press my fat quarters before I cut, and I usually press them on the wrong side because it's easier for me to see those creases. Since these fat quarters are not all from the same company, the same bundle, they are just randomly pulled from my stash, you can imagine that they're not all going to be identical in size. I lined up my fat quarters so that the selvage edges on the right-hand side all matched up. The first thing I'm going to do is trim off the selvage edges. Based on the size check I did, I am going to be cutting all my fat quarters into 17-inch wide by 20-inch long rectangles. If your sizes are just a little bit different from mine, that is a-okay. This cutting plan is going to work with just about any size rectangle you want to use. With the fat quarters all squared up, the first thing I did was cut 4 inches off one of the longer sides. So now I have a piece that's 4 inches wide and 20 inches long. Next, I turned my ruler the opposite way and I cut off 6 inches from one end. For my next cut, I pulled back that 4-inch strip and I made a cut 7 inches over from the right side. Let's talk about the 5 shapes that I have here. The strip on the lower right is 4 inches wide and 14 inches long. The strip on the lower left is 4 inches wide and 6 inches long. Then at the top we have a 6-inch by 13-inch piece and 2 pieces that are 7 inches by 13 inches. And the way I'm going to put the block together, I put that 6-inch by 13-inch piece between the 2 7-inch pieces. Then I won't have any matching. Here's a second look at how I cut my fat quarters. First, I cut off 4 inches, a 4-inch by 20-inch piece. Then, without moving any fabric, I put my ruler over to the left and cut off 6 inches all the way across my 17-inch length. And last, I moved that strip out of the way, the strip at the bottom, and I counted over 7 inches and made another cut. Now we can talk about putting the blocks together. I stacked up all the fabrics and I just left them in the order that I cut them, put them right side up so I could see what I was looking at. For one stack, I picked up one piece of fabric off the top and moved it to the bottom. For a second stack, I picked up 2 pieces of fabric and put those on the bottom of the stack. Next, I picked up 3 from the top and moved them to the bottom. For the next stack, I picked up 4 and moved those to the bottom. And last, I picked up 5 and moved those strips to the bottom. I did want to note that the only waste from this project is getting my fat quarters to the same size. So I have a couple of pieces that are wider and a couple that are slimmer, but I'm only keeping ones that are at least 1 inch wide. Those are going right into my scrap bin. Now it is time to start assembling these blocks. I'm going to start with the 7 by 13 inch piece on the left and the 6 by 13 inch piece in the middle. I'm going to chain piece all those together. When I got to the end of that first chain, I separated the chain and then I went back through the stack in the exact same order and added that third piece. Next, I stitched the 6 by 4 inch piece to the longer 14 by 4 inch piece and broke that chain. Then I just stitched my 3-piece unit to my 2-piece strip unit to complete this block. And since we put that 6 inch by 13 inch piece in the middle of the 2 7-inch pieces, we don't have to worry about matching up that skinnier strip. This quilt layout is going to be 3 blocks across and 3 blocks down. I just picked the first 2 blocks off the stack and stitched them together. But after I did that, I took another look and I thought I should probably lay these blocks out on the floor or some kind of way so I can see how they're going to go together. I wanted to have a random look, but I realized that if I wasn't careful, I was going to end up with 2 big pieces of the same fabric right next to each other. So here is the layout I came up with. I like that that very dark is pretty well spaced out around the quilt. Once I decided on the layout, it was super easy to just grab blocks from the floor and do a row at a time, and then put the 3 rows together. The 2 sides of this block have a different number of seams. So the left side has 3 pieces, the right side has 2 pieces. That means that my 4-inch strip is going to overhang by about 1/2 inch. I didn't worry about that. I just lined up as best I could and I trimmed off those 1/2 inches where they showed on the edges of the quilt. There are a lot of reasons to like this quilt. First of all, the color scheme. I love greens and teals, and with the neutrals, it really looks cute. I also like the randomness of how the darkest darks look in this quilt. But the best part is how fast it was and what a great, great stash buster this can be. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you back again real soon.